few people ever saw the true heart of Buckingham Palace. Visitors admired the glittering halls, the shining silver, and the royal portraits. Yet behind one quiet door stood the palace kitchen, where every movement followed strict rules set by Queen Elizabeth herself. A chef could lose trust for using too much garlic. Another could face sharp criticism for serving fruit that was slightly out of season. Even the shape of ice cubes once became part of palace discussion. To many people, these details sound small, but inside the royal household, small details carried great meaning. They showed discipline, tradition, and respect for the crown. For more than 70 years, Queen Elizabeth lived under careful routine. Her chefs understood that meals were never only about food. They reflected duty, history, and control. Former royal cooks, including Darren McGrady, later shared surprising stories about life inside those kitchens. Some rules sounded charming, others felt almost impossible to follow. Together, they revealed a woman who valued order in a changing world. As we continue, you may discover memories of your own family table and the traditions that shaped earlier generations. If these stories interest you, perhaps subscribe and stay with us for more quiet journeys into royal history. You are also welcome to share your thoughts in the comments, especially if one of these palace customs reminds you of childhood meals from long ago. One important rule involved garlic. According to several former palace chefs, Queen Elizabeth strongly disliked it. Garlic almost never appeared in royal dinners. The reason was partly practical. The Queen spent much of her life meeting diplomats, bishops, military officers, and world leaders at close distance. Strong smells were considered impolite during long conversations. Palace kitchens learned to build flavor without relying on garlic at all. That sounds simple at first. Yet imagine preparing hundreds of elegant meals every month without one of the world's most common ingredients. Chefs had to depend on herbs, cream sauces, fresh vegetables, and careful cooking methods instead. Some visitors never noticed the missing flavor. Others quietly wondered why palace meals tasted so refined yet so different. The Queen also expected perfect timing. Meals inside the palace followed the clock almost to the minute. If lunch was planned for 1 o'clock, it needed to arrive exactly then. Delays created problems across the royal schedule because every meeting, ceremony, and audience depended on careful order. Former staff members said palace kitchens worked with military precision during large events. There was another detail many people never imagined. Queen Elizabeth disliked wasting food. Despite her enormous wealth, she reportedly preferred simple portions when dining privately. According to Darren McGrady, she often ate grilled fish, vegetables, or small salads during ordinary evenings. Chocolate cake remained one of her favorite treats, but daily meals stayed controlled and modest. This surprised many younger chefs entering palace service. They expected endless luxury and heavy feasts every night. Instead, they discovered a household built on restraint. In some ways, the Queen's habits reflected the generation shaped by wartime Britain and rationing after 1945. Older viewers may remember those years clearly. Food was precious then, and waste carried shame. If you enjoy hearing about these forgotten customs, feel free to subscribe and return for future stories. Many royal traditions now seem far away from modern life, yet they still reveal how earlier generations valued discipline and manners. Another palace rule centered on seasonal food. Queen Elizabeth preferred fruit and vegetables at their natural time of year. Strawberries appeared mainly during summer months. Peaches and berries were carefully selected when truly fresh. Palace chefs understood they could not simply order imported produce whenever they pleased. The Queen believed proper flavor came from patience and timing. That belief connected deeply to the royal estates. Produce often arrived from royal gardens and farms connected to the crown. Fresh herbs, apples, and vegetables travelled quietly into palace kitchens from Windsor and Balmoral. Meals therefore reflected the rhythm of the countryside rather than changing supermarket habits. Yet even inside such tradition, pressure remained intense. One former chef explained that bananas had to be presented without dark marks. Another said tea sandwiches needed perfect shape and equal size. Imagine preparing trays for royal guests while knowing every detail might be noticed by the Queen herself. Even after decades on the throne, Queen Elizabeth continued watching these standards. Palace workers said consistency mattered because tradition gave comfort during uncertain times. Perhaps that explains why the royal kitchen rarely chased modern food trends. Instead, it protected habits that had lasted for generations. If these stories bring back memories of dinners, holiday meals, or family routines, you may share them below. Many viewers remember a time when table manners carried deep meaning and the palace kitchen reflected that older world every day. One quiet palace rule surprised many visiting leaders from other countries. Queen Elizabeth preferred smaller dinners than people expected. State banquets looked grand, with shining glasses and long tables filled with flowers, but private meals remained careful and restrained. Former chefs said the Queen often ate the same simple breakfast for years. She usually began the morning with cereal, fruit and tea before turning to official papers inside her famous red boxes. Still, even breakfast carried rules. The royal kitchen had to prepare tea exactly the right way. Cups needed proper temperature. Milk and sugar arrived in correct order. Silver. Pots had to shine without fingerprints. Some former staff members later explained that palace service followed standards taught over generations. A tiny mistake might seem harmless outside royal walls, yet inside Buckingham Palace, it could become deeply embarrassing. There was also a rule about travel. Whenever the Queen visited another country or stayed at Balmoral or Sandringham, trusted chefs often travelled with her. This protected both quality and safety. Royal tours already carried pressure because every public appearance faced worldwide attention. The kitchen staff therefore worked quietly behind the scenes to make each meal dependable and familiar. Imagine the strain during long overseas journeys. A delayed shipment or missing ingredient could upset an entire schedule. According to reports, palace teams sometimes packed special foods and equipment before royal flights departed Britain. Familiar meals helped the Queen maintain routine while moving constantly between ceremonies, speeches, and diplomatic meetings. Another unusual custom involved ice cubes. Former royal chef Darren McGrady once claimed the Queen preferred smaller ice cubes because large ones made too much noise inside a glass. Some people laughed when hearing this story. Others saw something more meaningful. Queen Elizabeth belonged to a generation taught that quiet behaviour showed self-control and courtesy toward others nearby. In many ways, palace kitchen rules reflected older British values now fading from public life. Silence mattered. Patience mattered. Even the sound of cutlery against fine china carried importance during formal dinners. Younger workers entering royal service sometimes found these customs difficult to understand at first. Yet over time, many developed respect for the discipline surrounding royal meals. The Queen also cared deeply about presentation. Chefs learned that cracked dishes, damaged fruit, or untidy garnish would never reach the royal table. During major receptions, palace kitchens prepared hundreds of plates with exact placement. Each dessert, vegetable, and sauce needed balance. One former staff member compared the process to a military parade where every movement followed rehearsal and timing. Yet the pressure inside those kitchens could create surprising warmth between workers. Palace chefs often spent holidays away from their own families while serving the royal household during Christmas and state occasions. Long hours formed strong friendships. Some former employees later described the kitchens as both demanding and deeply loyal. If these royal stories bring you comfort or curiosity, consider subscribing for future documentaries. You may also share whether family meals once followed strict traditions in your own home. Many viewers remember parents or grandparents who cared about manners at the table just as seriously as the palace once did. One rule carried more serious importance than simple manners. Food safety inside Buckingham Palace remained strict because the royal household constantly hosted foreign visitors and dignitaries. According to royal biographers, chefs avoided risky shellfish during certain events and paid close attention to storage temperatures. The Queen's schedule left little room for illness. That caution became even stronger after troubling moments in royal history. Earlier generations of monarchs had faced real fear of poisoning and contamination. By the time Queen Elizabeth came to the throne in 1952, modern science improved safety greatly, yet palace kitchens still treated food preparation with extraordinary care. Perhaps the most revealing rule involved repetition. The Queen reportedly disliked seeing the same menu too often during formal events. Palace chefs therefore created rotating dishes while still respecting royal preferences. Balancing variety with strict tradition became one of the hardest parts of the job. Every meal needed freshness without shocking the royal household with strange experiments. One former palace worker remembered how carefully the Queen treated afternoon tea. Scones, sandwiches, and cakes appeared almost like clockwork each day, yet the trays were never overloaded. The royal household believed elegance came from balance rather than excess. Even jam and cream had proper order, depending on the region of Britain being represented. Small customs like these may sound old-fashioned today, but they helped preserve continuity during decades of enormous social change. While the world outside rushed forward with modern habits, the palace kitchen remained steady and familiar. Perhaps that steady rhythm explains why so many people felt comfort when watching Queen Elizabeth during uncertain times for millions across the Commonwealth nations. Perhaps the strictest kitchen rule of all involved privacy. Palace chefs entered a world where silence mattered almost as much as skill. What they heard during dinners or private family moments could never leave royal walls. Former employees later explained that discretion was treated like loyalty to the nation itself. A careless story shared outside the palace could damage trust forever. This quiet code became especially important during difficult years for the royal family. Weddings, divorces, public criticism, and moments of grief all unfolded under intense media attention. Yet meals still arrived on polished trays at the expected hour. The kitchen staff learned to continue working calmly even while newspapers around the world carried painful headlines about the monarchy. Some chefs later admitted that emotional strain could be felt behind closed doors. During periods of family tension, dining habits sometimes changed. Certain members of the royal household preferred eating alone. Others requested comfort foods from childhood. In these small moments, palace workers glimpsed the human side of people, often seen only through television cameras and formal portraits. The monarch, Queen Elizabeth herself, rarely complained openly about food. According to former staff, she usually remained polite even when something disappointed her. Yet palace workers understood subtle signals. A dish left unfinished or a quiet comment to a senior aide could quickly lead to changes in the menu. The Queen believed good service should appear smooth and effortless. There was one final kitchen tradition that carried deep symbolism. Before major state banquets, tables inside Buckingham Palace were arranged with extraordinary care. Historic silver pieces, some dating back hundreds of years, were polished for hours. Glasses stood in perfect lines beneath palace lights. Every plate connected the modern monarchy to earlier reigns, stretching far into British history. Imagine the feeling of a young chef walking through those halls late at night after preparing a banquet for presidents, kings, or prime ministers. Outside, crowds waited behind palace gates, hoping for one glimpse of royal life. Inside, workers quietly folded linens and cleaned empty kitchens after serving one of the most famous women in the world. If you have enjoyed these stories, you may subscribe and return for more gentle explorations of royal history. You are also welcome to share which palace rule surprised you most. Many viewers say these customs remind them of parents or grandparents who believed respect could be shown through simple daily habits at the dinner table. As the years passed, Britain changed in ways few people could have imagined when Queen Elizabeth became monarch in her 20s. Society moved faster, traditions softened, formal manners slowly disappeared from many homes. Yet inside the palace kitchen, routines remained steady for decades. Chefs still measured portions carefully. Tea still arrived with quiet precision. Seasonal foods still mattered. To some critics, these rules seemed old-fashioned. To others, they represented stability during uncertain times. The Queen understood that millions of people looked to the monarchy as a symbol of continuity. Even small customs inside the royal kitchen helped support that image. A carefully prepared meal could quietly express dignity, patience, and self-control without a single speech being spoken. When Queen Elizabeth died in 2022, many former palace workers reflected on the routines they had followed under her reign. Chefs remembered long nights before state visits. Servers remembered polished silver and exact timing. Garden staff remembered delivering fresh produce for royal meals. Together, their memories painted a picture not only of royal luxury, but also of discipline and duty. Perhaps that is why these kitchen rules still fascinate people today. Beneath the gold decorations and palace ceremonies stood an elderly woman who valued order, simplicity, and tradition. She believed meals should bring comfort rather than chaos. She respected careful work done quietly behind the scenes. And in many ways, those beliefs reflected the generation that survived war, hardship, and enormous social change. The palace kitchen was never only about food. It became a small mirror of Queen Elizabeth's character itself. Calm during pressure, careful with detail, respectful of tradition, quietly consistent through changing times. Long after the banquets ended and the palace lights grew dim, those simple habits remained part of her lasting memory. For many older viewers, these stories may feel strangely familiar. Earlier generations often believed that preparing food carefully was a way of showing love, discipline, and respect for others. Queen Elizabeth carried those values throughout her long life. In the end, the palace kitchen tells us something gentle but important. Great power does not always reveal itself through grand speeches or jewels. Sometimes it appears in quiet habits repeated day after day. A warm cup of tea served properly, a table prepared with care, a family meal protected from noise and disorder. Those small routines helped shape one of the longest royal reigns in modern history for millions around Britain.